Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm returning to you for this afternoon album review again. This is another album that I wanted to check out to see what I was going to think of it. I think I got two more album reviews to do after this, and then that should be it for this week's releases for albums. So this is for Crosses' new album, Goodnight, God Bless, I Love You, Delete. And sorry about the background noise, my nephew is in a mood. He's been in a mood today, so it's something. So this is for their new album, Goodnight, God Bless, I Love You, Delete. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for this 15-track album, which is a runtime of almost 50 minutes. It's like 49 minutes and almost 50 seconds, and I'll let you know my thoughts on this album as a whole. So let's dive into this album review. Now this is the album we've been waiting for since Invisible Hand came out, which I think was in August. That's when it came out, like early August or something like that. I'm not sure. But they announced this album sometime in August. And honestly, I'm going to start with the first track. Pleasure is a pretty well mixed track. The electronics and this new wave, synth wave stuff sound really good in my opinion. Sorry, my eye is a little itchy. Sorry about that. Basically, Pleasure is one of my favorite songs, so I'd give this a 5 out of 5. Invisible Hand was solid. It's the first single to come out for this album. To announce this album's announcement and release date. So basically, Invisible Hand was a solid track. It's good in its own way, just not my personal favorite track as the lead single. So 4.5 out of 5. Found was a good track in its own way. It's another solid track that I think is the least favorite in my opinion, but overall it's not so bad. So the mixing is pretty well done, and Chino Marino's vocals sound pretty alright, so 4.5 out of 5. Light as a Feather has actually grown on me a lot more, and I actually really dig this track. Probably a great second single, in my opinion. I think this song came out along with Ghost Ride, so, but that was like September 15th or something like that. Somewhere around there. But basically, Light as a Feather is a pretty good track, so I really dig the mixing, and Chino Marino's vocals sound pretty good. So 5 out of 5. Pulse Plug is a pretty strong track in my opinion. Sorry, I just got a comment a moment ago from probably one of my YouTube videos. Pulse Plag, I meant to say. Pulse Plag is a pretty strong track. The mixing is great. I really like Chino Marino's vocals in this track. It sounds really good, and just how it's produced, it's not so bad. So 5 out of 5. Runner is probably a favorite of mine in my opinion. I really dig this track for what it goes for, and just how it executes mostly with the mixing and the production. It does pretty well, so I'd give this a 5 out of 5 too. And Chino Marino's vocals sound pretty interesting to make the song very enticing of a listen, so really dig it. Big Youth featuring ELP, or LP, or ELP, or whatever. Solid track, just not one of my favorites. It kind of drags the rating down a little bit, but not too much to where the album's gonna suck. But I think it's alright. It's not anything great. ELP is a rapper, so he's just rapping in the track. And it doesn't sound bad, so 4.5 out of 5. Then comes End Youth Reprise. It's only a minute and 39 seconds. It's an interlude track, but it does alright for what it goes for, so I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. Not anything special of a track, but it's something to keep the listener listening to the album. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5. Then comes Last Rites, and that was a solid track too. Some of the mixing has its weak tendencies, and just the way Chino Marino sings it at times, it kind of feels a little lazy at times, but I think it tries to be something interesting. So it's a good track in its own way. 4.5 out of 5. Ghost Ride was a solid track in my opinion. I think Light as a Feather is probably better than Ghost Ride. Probably better than Ghost Ride. Sorry, I'm slurring with my wording. But overall, it's not a bad track. The production is alright, and just the synth stuff is not so bad with the mixing and all that. So it works to a degree, but not everything about it is amazing. So 4.5 out of 5. Grace is a pretty good track in my opinion. I really dig how it sounds overall, so I'd give this a 5 out of 5. I like Chino Moreno's vocals. I mean, sometimes it can have its lazy points, but overall it doesn't do so bad, so 5 out of 5. Eraser was a 2 minute and 16-second song, but it worked for what it was going for, so I'd give this a strong 5 out of 5 too. This electronic work and the synthwave stuff sound pretty alright with the mixing and all that, and production wise this song executed pretty well, so 5 out of 5. Natural Selection was like under 3 minutes. It's like 2 minutes and 47 seconds, but it's an interesting track for what it goes for. And I like Chino Moreno's vocals in this track, so I'd give this a 5 out of 5. Girls Float and Boys Cry featuring Robert Smith. Robert Smith is the lead singer of The Cure, is what I looked into before doing this review, and I think his vocals were not so bad in this track. So, and Chino's vocals sounded pretty good in this song too. So both their vocals harmonized pretty well with this song, and this turned out to be a pretty good track for the second to last song before the closing song. So 5 out of 5. Then comes the title track, Goodnight, God Bless, I Love You, Delete, and that's a pretty good song to end the album, and it's the closing track for the album, and it did pretty well to end this album. So 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this track, and the mixing was pretty damn good, in my opinion. Overall, production, mixing, and execution wise, I think Cross's Goodnight, God Bless, I Love You, Delete is a pretty good album. Yeah, it's more synthwave electronic stuff, and I don't know if it's everyone's cup of tea, but I don't mind it as long as the production is well executed and it doesn't make me feel weird about the album. I don't hate this album. I think this is probably a pretty good album. It's their second studio album. I know they made an album like years ago in 2014 or something like that. But I think overall, Crosses pulled it off with this album with the mixing, production, and the execution was pretty flawless and it sounded pretty well done of an album. It was well mixed and all that. So, for a score for me, I'm giving Crosses' new album, Goodnight, God Bless, I Love You, Delete, an 8.5 out of 10. Pretty well done album, and it will be on my best albums of 2023 by the end of the year, so I was pretty impressed with this album. So 8.5 out of 10 for Crosses, Goodnight, God Bless, I Love You, Delete album. Thank you for watching this album review today.